Hello, everyone. Welcome to Club IDIC. Today, we will be watching Time Zero Part 2 from Star Trek The Next Generation, and we will be discussing the process of discovery. Please enjoy this meeting. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
A little bit today.
You're looking well.
What the
You're
heck
looking
just
well and
happened?
fabulous.
I don't know about all of that.
Do I lie to you?
Look at this.
Oh, gosh.
But when I put my head covering on, I definitely look like a cancer patient. So I decided I didn't want to wear that for this.
Wow.
I know, I'm vain.
Well, you're a strong person.
My radiation starts, well, I talked to the doctor on Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes.
You're a strong person, and you will continue to be a strong person because they like having you around.
Well, that makes two people, so.
But it's good to see you up and strong.
I have actually been eating, so.
Oh, yay for food.
I know, right? But I'm on my last package of rice noodles, so I'm kind of sad. Like app for getting your food delivered, it says they're out. I'm like, there's no way you're out of all the rice noodles in the store. But you know. Have you seen episode 10?
I've seen bits of it.
Oh my gosh, you gotta finish it.
I'm going to finish it.
Like, I cried so much and I laughed, but mostly cried because I'm me. And
Yeah.
I cried and all kinds of stuff. But oh my gosh, they have to leave like a cliffhanger because they love drama and I don't like that.
Yes. Discovery is a process. Discovery is a process. And everybody's at their own speed.
I'm impatient. I am impatient.
I know. We will squeeze in a new world. We will squeeze in Strange New Worlds episodes. I promise.
I'm gonna have to go watch the whole thing again.
I'm starting to. I'm not that far in yet.
What episode are you on?
I think I'm up to the third one.
I'm also going back through Enterprise because when it was on TV, like I only watched a few episodes because I was kind of bummed about the ship. So I didn't give it a fair chance, but now that I've given it a fair chance, like I love it. I love it so much.
When was that even on? I don't even remember. When was Enterprise even on?
Yeesh. It was like 20 years ago. I don't remember that far back. I don't remember this morning, so I definitely don't remember 20 years ago.
I think it was on when I was in high school.
Okay, make me feel old. That's all right.
2001. 2001, I would have been, oh gosh, Lordy me, let's see, I was in grade 9 and 9/11. Yeah, I was junior high school.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was grade 9 high school in those days. Yeah, I'm old. And now I'm almost 35.
My oldest son was 1 year old, so yeah. Yeah, definitely felt with that. That's all right.
Yeah, I don't think I watched it. I don't think really I was into TV in those days. I was too busy acting and being in school, and because I was quite a writer and an actor in those days, believe it or not. I really was.
I didn't watch a lot of TV back then.
I was also an entrepreneur in high school. I made and sold my own stuff.
You need to do that again.
Well, that's what freelancing is.
Yeah.
I'm just not making any money off of the stuff I give to websites.
Well,
I just actually had a piece come out the other day, like a refurbished piece about my endometriosis. It was basically about discovering myself, who I was, and my emotions after I got diagnosed. You should read it.
I saw it, but I think I fell asleep because I meant to read it, but I didn't.
Oh, it's okay. It'll be there for when you're ready.
Yeah, I so totally thought that yesterday was Friday all day long. So I talked to my mom and I was like, well, at least it's Friday. And she's like, you mean Wednesday? I almost cried.
It's okay. You know what? It's okay.
I know, but I was like, man, I was so excited for 2 whole days with no dialysis. And then she like burst my little bubble.
Yeah.
And I can't get my laptop connected to the Wi-Fi here, so I don't have to hold the phone, because that drives me crazy.
Yeah, sometimes the process of discovery can either suck or it can really make you happy. It's a double-edged sword, you know?
I know. And I have been like thinking so much about like my dad and my grandma and stuff. And I don't really know well, I guess I do know what brought it on, because June is in middle of June is when my cousin died in a bull riding accident.
Oh no.
The chute would not open, and so he fell off the bull inside the chute with the bull.
Oh no.
So I don't have to tell you what happened.
No, I know. Bulls are just menaces.
And he got a tough one. And I had just literally left Oklahoma to go back to Virginia 2 days before. Like, we literally just got back to Virginia when I got the phone call.
Yeah. And we have Anthony.
Oh, okay.
We have our beloved Anthony with us today.
Good to see you.
How are they treating you, Teresa?
Well, the last 3 days have been much, much better. Like, I've been able to eat and stuff, so.
Good.
And they said that I was so dehydrated at dialysis that they gave me almost 6 pounds of saline. Yeah.
Well, that'll raise your blood pressure a whole bunch.
Well, I mean, I have pills to counteract that, but I was kind of liking being a few pounds lighter.
Yeah, but it'll also make you pee a lot. So.
Well, no, because I don't do that anymore.
Oh, that sucks.
No, not really.
Is that a cricket cage in the corner?
What's that?
Anthony, is that a cricket cage?
What, that?
Yeah.
It's a milk crate. Why, you wanted to go cricket hunting?
It just looks like a thing out of Mulan. Just from looking at it, it looks like a little cricket cage.
She wants you to go out and get a lizard to feed the crickets to.
Yeah, name the lizard Derek, you know?
Oh my gosh, that would be so funny. Oh man, that would wow.
Oh, he's not laughing. He's in a mood.
I'm sorry, but that was the funniest thing I've heard all week.
All right, crap. Oh no, let me not go there.
He
This
told
is
it
what
just sailed
Kyler
over his
did to me.
head. It sailed over his head. He's having a hard day.
Aw.
Why are you sad? Why didn't you laugh at that?
That was for you, Anthony. I laughed.
Oh, no, I just noticed the dressing on your clavicle.
Oh, that's my
That is
that's
her
how I
tough.
get
That is
dialysis
her
right
tough
now.
badge. That is one. That is a sign that she is a warrior that's going to survive all this nasty shizballs.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm gonna get another one. I'll have one for chemo and radiation and one for dialysis.
That is a sign that she is a warrior, that she's enduring all things well.
You know,
Yeah, it caught my eye. That's why. And I'm a little irked because I know a local moron did something really moronic. Nobody in this group chat, by the way.
Oh, well. But,
well, he did say local, so I wasn't worried.
wow. But Teresa, have pride in that little patch because it means you're fighting.
I am
I'm
doing
proud of you for fighting.
My mom and I had a conversation today, and they're gonna test her. They think she might have some kind of a bladder cancer,
Oh, gosh.
and she's like, if it is, then I don't want to do chemo. I don't want to do radiation. At my age, I just want to be in peace. So that was not what I was expecting to have a conversation about today, but you know.
Okay, so
Well,
let's
no.
diverge back onto what
No,
we're
it's
going to
okay.
talk
You know,
about.
I've been the child that's had this conversation with the parents, and it's a damn hard conversation to have, and we can have a conversation about it later if you like, because I understand it. Okay? You can PM me about it.
I can.
You
But, I
know
mean,
that, right?
I'm understanding of her decision, like, because she was grandma's caretaker, so she's kind of been through and down that road. So
Yeah.
you know,
Anyway,
it is
let's talk
hard.
Trek.
Huh?
Let's talk Trek.
Yes.
Right, I know I gotta catch up. I got 2.5 episodes of Strange New Worlds to catch up with.
Oh, it's good. I've started watching the stuff
Oh.
on my PVR because we get it for free here. You should just
Okay,
come to Canada and
I should feed you to Porthos. For that
no, you
one.
should just I got a hide-a-bed couch. I got a hide-a-bed couch in my house now. You should just come sleep on that and watch it on my PVR. I'm serious. It's all parked in my living room.
I think it would cost more to travel to Canada than it would cost to just get Paramount Plus.
Well, then I could just take him out to dinner and he could enjoy Lethbridge for a while.
Well, that's true. I hear that Canadians are really nice. My Aunt
And
Kim
he
lived
could
in
come to the
Canada
fair.
for like, my Aunt Kim moved there for like 13 years or something.
He could literally come to the fair that's going to be up here next month in my city.
What, the Latin festival you were posting about?
No, it's going to be a nice, huge Western fair with like, it's carnival.
Mm. Well, it's kind of weird that I'm Heather's man crush.
Who says you're the only one?
And yes, I remember that singles conference with your church.
I've got a lot of man crushes. You're not the only one, but anybody's welcome to visit. I won't put them up necessarily, but there are hotels near my place. Anyway, the process of discovery. It's an interesting one because it's not a singular process. That's not what Times Arrow Part 2 is about. It's not a singular process, but we start off in the year 1893. By the way, who has seen this?
It's been
What?
a long time for me. But, you know, I thought it was interesting. My grandfather was born in 1895.
You're not that old. Your grandfather?
My grandfather was an old man when he married my grandma. He was born in 1895.
Well, then how old are you?
Don't ask, Heather, don't ask.
She
I am
looks
in my
maybe a year
40s.
older than
That's
me.
all I'll say. But yeah, my grandfather was a very old man when he married my grandmother, who was 18 at the time. There was a very large, like 40 some odd year difference in their ages.
Well, back then they didn't really care about that. Now you begin to get in the court for that.
Well, I
Yeah,
don't think it even matters because my mom and stepdad have a 10-year gap, and I don't think it really matters anyway.
my grandparent on the maternal side, my grandparents had a 10-year difference. And my parents had a 5-year difference.
Well, I personally don't care. Like, I think an older man would be useful to have around.
Yeah, hey.
Hmm.
But that's
I've
just
always
me.
said that I did not want to get in another romantic relationship like ever, because I've had 2 really bad ones. But if Anson Mount was available, you know,
Woo!
to-
Didn't you just have a kid?
I might have to reconsider my ideals on that. Just saying.
A friend of mine did a selfie with Anson Mount at the Strange New Worlds party.
Oh, you're a friend
Ooh.
of you? Yours or you?
Friend of mine.
Lucky.
Lucky.
Yeah, he matched at the event. He got to do a selfie with Anson Mount.
That's awesome.
And let me see, I think I got interviewed for if they'll ever do a Blu-ray release of season 1. Don't take this take this with a shaker of salt, but they might see part of me in a post-screening interview.
Oh goodness, you're always getting into trouble down there, aren't you, Anthony?
Mhm.
First the subway crisis, and now this. Just this. You need somebody to keep an eye on you. Anyway, yes, the process of discovery is so unique, and they went to discover the thing with the aliens, and then Picard wanted to discover what Guinan meant about how they met, and they also wanted to discover how Data died. So many processes of discovery, and yet they also had to learn how to survive in this time period without corrupting the timeline. And of course, Picard did an absolutely garbage job of just replicating it for their own purposes. We won't get into that because season 2 of Picard was crap.
Oh, okay.
It was.
Oh, you saw us Picard?
I was mentioning season 2 of Picard, yes.
Okay, I've seen the whole thing, so it's no surprise to me.
Like, they should have just left it alone. I could have written something better. In fact, I probably will.
Do it.
I have a plot written already.
Awesome.
Anyway.
I have 2 stories started. One as post-Dominion War. But I haven't gotten very far with it. I really kind of want to finish it, but I don't know. It also is kind of depressing to think about. So,
Well, that brings me to a question. Like, if we had an opportunity to rewrite any Star Trek plots, which ones would we rewrite?
The entirety of Star Trek 10.
Oh, Nemesis?
That's hands down the worst Star Trek movie in history.
What would you do differently?
Everything.
That doesn't answer anything. Break it down. We have time. We're not going anywhere.
The plot makes no sense. The everything, like they can't even keep the canon straight. Now, if I may nitpick for a second, a
ahead.
sovereign class has 24. No, what matter of fact?
Oh, he's getting out an encyclopedia. Oh, he has models.
This thing, sovereign class, first in Star Trek, first con, the thing is 24 decks. How is it all of a sudden it's 28? And then,
Because the writers didn't do research.
kind of like in Star Trek 5, when Captain Kirk and Spock were flying up the Enterprise, and it said deck 72.
Well,
Well,
maybe
Yeah.
they didn't number them starting at 1.
Maybe put this thing down.
Well, Star Trek 5 was a disgrace unto itself. The Cybok thing was interesting, but that was the only part, because I'm sure how many children of Sarek did Sarek actually have? We only saw a few, but how many children did Sarek actually have? He lived into his hundreds, maybe 200.
Okay, question. Heather, did you get up to the episode where Spock and his significant other switched places?
Yes.
I know about the plot, I just am not there quite yet.
Oh, you gotta watch it. We
I'm
can't
going
talk
to.
about it until you
And
watch
that's
it.
all I'll say about it. You have to watch how and why. Watch it yourself.
I saw the clip where they actually did it.
Watch the whole thing, Heather.
Yeah, but you have
I'm
to catch
going
up
to.
because we want to talk about it. So
But Star Trek 5 was a disgrace unto itself, so.
I don't know.
I kind of just I semi
I can
gloss
watch
over it.
Star Trek 5.
I
Star
semi
Trek
gloss
10.
over it when I do a run through of the movies.
And I know Spiner was happy at the time that Data would die. The guy got tired of playing him.
And yet he finds a way to resurrect soon so he can come back for all the movies in the series.
Okay, now that it's paying, now that he has bills to pay, he's coming out. Like I told you the whole story about me versus Spiner.
Mm.
You can tell it again. We won't get tired of it.
I haven't heard it.
Basically, when I was a kid, I looked up to the guy. I went to a convention because he was there. But then Spiner's like, I'm not signing any autographs.
Oh,
Really? This was back in 1994, I believe.
well, that sucks.
Yeah, but like 20 years later, he was at Comic-Con, either New York Comic-Con or Star Trek Mission New York, where Brent Spiner was signing autographs. I guess he has rent to pay or something, because I finally got his autograph after all this time.
The only person that I've met is George Takei, and
That,
I will love him forever.
I know we love Uncle George.
You know, way back, oh gosh, early to mid 90s, me and he was actually a friend of my brother's, but we both liked Star Trek, so we talked Trek a little bit. And he couldn't afford to go to the conference that they were doing. So I said, well, if your brother takes us, I'll pay for both of us. So that's what we did. And I was so starstruck. It was just so great. I wore a TOS costume that I made. I made it a little bit longer than theirs because I was sensitive about, my legs. And I wore very, very, very dark tights, like they were really, really dark. Because, you know,
Yeah.
teenagers. But when everything was over and they were like tearing down the stuff, putting the chairs and tables and stuff back like they were supposed to be in their ballroom, our ride hadn't gotten there yet. So we sat down on a bench and George Takai comes down the elevator, I guess from his room, and he sees us and sees that we're holding his picture in our hands. And he comes and sits with us and talks with, like, Nate was just having this conversation like it was just anybody, you know? And me, I was sitting there just totally couldn't even. Nate had to introduce me by name because I couldn't remember my name. I was just so, yeah. It's George Takei. He's like sitting right. I mean,
Hey,
here.
George Takei is great.
I love him. Like, he saw two teenagers sitting there, and he waited and walked us out to the car when our ride got there. Like, he just saw two kids and really like stepped up to be like, because it was downtown Oklahoma City hotel. It's not really known for being great, you know, things happen.
It was an unsafe situation.
Right.
You weren't sure about how you were going to get out of it, and then protection came.
Wow. Well, my thingy is a little quicker than that because, oh, you first, Teresa.
Oh, no, go.
Oh, I was
That
gonna
was it.
say,
I mean,
I saw the guy, I saw Takei at New York Comic Con. He's the only reason I went last year. I know I couldn't have much of a conversation with him because I know the guy was running late because Shatner, who was to my right, was signing autographs. Takei was running, I know like 20 guys behind me. So he and I couldn't talk much, but Mr. Takei is a nice guy.
I love
Yeah,
it.
so we call, oh yeah, Uncle George is a good one. And as I remember, like last month at the Japan parade here in New York, George Takei was the Grand Marshal. So a friend of
Really?
mine, and I would, like in the, not gazebo, like a little strip of the street that was a marketplace.
Mhm.
We wanted to get a donut dumpling, but they were like all sold out except for the one that they were supposed to give to Mr. Takei. So we were within 2 meters of him and his entourage. Then we're walking around. I'm like, let's get out of the street and blocking people. And then we get within 1 meter of Takei and his security detail. Of course, I've been to enough conventions. I've seen enough stuff. I'm not the starstruck type. I'm not getting, hey, George, look at me, or anything like that.
I'm not anymore, but as a teenager, yeah, I was. If it had been anybody else, I probably would have still reacted the same way.
That's amazing. I do have a question though, like going back to your little story about how uncertain you were in the unsafe part of town when Data was in San Francisco back in time by himself and he reached out to Guinan. He wasn't sure about how he was going to get help. And do you think he knew that he was going to get help from Guinan, or do you think he was really unsure?
I think he pretty much expected to have Guinan recognize him because she has shown in the past episodes, she has a remarkable knowledge of things in the past. So I think he fully expected her to recognize him.
And then she came in contact with the others from the future, and then everything just sort of fell into place. But then they had the interference of Samuel Clements, and it was very chaotic.
It's been
Oh,
years for
looks
me,
like-
but I do remember him being particularly nosy and like eavesdropping and stuff. I do remember that much.
And the fact for a casual viewer, it would look like you have a bad Colonel Sanders cosplay going on. with
Yes,
Mr. Clements.
Yes. Yes. You're right.
it was. It was a scary situation and everybody was so eager to discover, but do you think they were perhaps careless in how they conducted themselves? They could have been a little bit more subtle.
What would you have done? Let me throw it at you, Heather.
I don't know. But perhaps they could have been a little bit more subtle in how they were conducting themselves. They were risking themselves using too much exposure of modern technology, saying too much about the modern era. It was very uncertain, and they almost got themselves into trouble with local law enforcement.
I don't remember any of that.
Well, you won't have to deal with the Department of Temporal Incursion until Deep Space Nine. But that's another episode from, I don't remember which one, but I don't know, Heather, maybe you can
Well,
think about it. With
They
Delmer and Luxley.
insinuated that Kirk had visits from some sort of temporal guardians or something. They did insinuate that in Deep Space Nine, in Trouble with Tribbles.
Yes.
So, because
But
they
it's
were like
interesting.
all of these incursions from Kirk. So
Do you think they ever got into trouble for their little adventure back into San Francisco?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Which group?
This group.
TNG. You know, I wouldn't doubt it because that was happening pretty much the same time frame as Deep Space Nine. So
I mean,
if they were that active then, you would think that, yeah, they probably got a visit.
did they even contact Starfleet and say, hey, this is what we found? Or did they just decide, hey, we're going to go back and make sure Data doesn't die? We're literally just going to put on all these fancy clothes, hop back to the 1800s and see.
And
We can find out about how Data dies, prevent his death, see what we can do about these aliens killing people. And we're also going to see, Picard's also going to go along. Picard's like, I'm going to go along just so I can preserve my friendship with Guinan. And we're not going to involve Starfleet in any of this. We're just going to do it.
And it should be a predestination paradox, which would warrant a look through from the Temporal Incursions Department.
And they take all this modern technology. They take all these things. They have fights with the aliens in pre-modern San Francisco, and they literally don't attract the attention of Starfleet at any time, even after they return to the present with Clements. I mean, come on.
My guess is that this is something that we don't see because we just don't see everything that happens, obviously. We don't see every day. So I think it'd be cool if there's a book that kind of goes back and references that, because I feel like they definitely got a visit and they'd have to have some explaining to do with the archaeologists that were exploring, because unless them going back to the future erased everybody's memory, then they're going to have some explaining to do about those artifacts.
I mean, they were asked to explore artifacts. They weren't asked to really set up an operation that took them back to the 1800s. I mean,
True.
Really.
Oh, let me throw this at you then. Like, learning the plot in public for a moment before we get to the show. Like, you see how the plot was the aliens went back in time, but the reason they picked 19th century San Francisco was for the Spanish flu pandemic. So they could absorb life energy from people and blame the virus.
I remember that part now.
So imagine if the temporal people decide to come over here and kill people and then blame it on COVID.
Wow. That's deep.
I think people are too busy killing each other with acts of indifference, so there won't be anybody left for aliens to kill, sadly. We're too busy killing each other that we don't have anything left for the aliens to deal with.
I don't know.
There's not enough of us. We're too busy destroying each other with acts of hate. And that's a terrible answer, I know, but it's a real answer.
You know, the acts of hate thing. I try to be very open to recognizing when those things happen. You know, be on the lookout. But there was a woman here who was very, I guess you'd call it a Karen, you know, because of a black man who adopted his girlfriend's white child. And of course, the child called him daddy. And I don't remember if it was a boy or girl. But anyway, this Karen decided that that was wrong and called the police on him. They had to actually prove that it was his child, because she called the police saying that he kidnapped this kid. And I would consider that an act of hate.
It is an act of hate.
Because she wouldn't have done that if the father had been white and the child had been white. But because the man was a different race, I feel like that's hateful. I mean, it doesn't affect you. And the child is clearly, you know, calling the man daddy. And, you know, I feel like she would have got that all wrong. She shouldn't have even interfered. I mean, the child was not in no danger.
Well,
So,
you know, Clemens very nearly disrupted the Enterprise's mission because of his indifference towards Data. He was trying to poke his nose in things because he didn't understand Data's differences. He thought Data was weird. He thought Data was strange. He thought Data was dangerous. And he kept trying to follow them around because he thought Data was up to no good, when they were just simply trying to sort out the mess the aliens were making and destroying people.
Well, how was he supposed to know that? From his perspective, there were a bunch of alien invaders from another dimension or whatever, messing around with his planet and his timeline. And he figures he has to put a stop to it somehow.
I know, but Samuel Clements was being an olden day Karen, poking his nose in, alerting people to something that wasn't real based on his own indifference and prejudice and ignorance. Just because Data
well, I
was
think
a lot.
I think probably, I think most of that was just plain nosiness. I mean, seriously, now it's been a long time since I watched it, honestly, but I really feel like he was just nosy.
Well, he just felt like it was all wrong. Like he just literally was willing to sell these innocent people out to the media, out to everyone he knew, just because he didn't understand what was going on. He didn't take the time to understand. He just thought everything was bad just because it was beyond his understanding. And that is Karenism.
I mean, think about how many people today, right now, in this very moment, are making assumptions about other people because of their race, because of the country they came from, because of an accent they have. It's happening. It's happening right now, everywhere. It's happening in Oklahoma. It's happening in Canada. It's happening everywhere.
It's sad. But so why do we need to worry about aliens coming to destroy us? We're doing a perfectly good job of destroying each other with stupid assumptions and indifference.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if an alien wanted something from us, I think that they wouldn't care about that. They'll just do what they they need to do for their own survival. But
Yep.
um,
Kind of
I
like
mean,
you
what's
first.
that?
I was going to say, it's kind of like what I said earlier. Like the space aliens will come and drain the life force and keep from the COVID patients, the ICU,
Mhm.
and you'd be too busy fighting amongst yourselves to notice.
No, here's the scary part. Like, I think that if an alien came or a group of aliens came asking for life force or seeking life force, indifference is so high that people would sell each other out to the aliens just to protect themselves.
That's assuming they knew the aliens were even there. Do the people from San Francisco know that those are aliens? Or just a successful guy with a
No,
weird
and
cane?
if it were me and I were the alien coming to take the life force of this other race, I would go to I would go as a nurse or a nurse's aide to the hospitals. That's what I would do. I would go to nursing homes. I would go to hospitals because there would be no questioning it. If everybody died in a nursing home, nobody would even question it because of the age and assumed medical issues that are already there
Bingo.
and the prevalence of COVID. And then that new strain of flu that was going around too, on top of the COVID. I would go as a nurse's aide or even a janitor because they have access to every room and every patient.
Mhm.
And they don't have to have a degree to show. They just go and sign up to work in a nursing home or hospital. And they're desperate for employees, so they're hiring just about anybody. So they wouldn't question too much about not having credentials or resumes. They're hiring everybody. So I would go as an alien. I would go, and that's exactly what I would do.
That the health system down there must be a little better and more workable than it is up here. Because right now, and let me tell you this reality, right now in my city, it is tough as hell to get a doctor. Like, several doctors are leaving this city and leaving this province because the way the government has literally screwed the health system. It screwed the health system at the beginning of COVID, and doctors are actively leaving this city. Right now, I'm losing both my specialist and my GP by the end of summer, and I can't do anything about it. And it's scary. And if aliens were to come, people would be so desperate for a doctor, they wouldn't even care if it were alien or not.
Well, and they took on human form. They looked like everybody around them. They didn't look different.
Yeah, so we wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Exactly.
screwed.
But right now, ours isn't so much a doctor shortage here in Oklahoma as a nursing shortage. So we lost a lot of our more experienced nurses when they required the vaccination. And some of them were against the vaccination. So we lost a lot of more experienced nurses that way. So yeah, I mean, right now, new nurses coming out of school are performing duties far above what they normally would, but there's nobody higher.
Trial by fire, I suppose.
Can you imagine if aliens someday tried to come and gain power over people by a vaccination, by using a vaccination?
Yeah, who's saying that they're not here already?
That's true.
Well, are you one of those? Well, I suppose if your health status might not, vaccine might be difficult, but let's not even go there.
No, this is just a fun, this is supposed to just be a fun Star Trek chat. It's
yeah, I know we're going way off topic.
Well, here's the only thing I'm going to say is just because we have not seen doesn't mean that there's not other life in the universe. And that's how I feel about it. And that's the end of it for me. But yeah, there could be aliens from the future here right now. We don't know.
True.
I mean, if I were to run into one of them, I would hope that they're not looking for a life force. But
That's
you know,
true.
But you don't know, they could be observing us right now,
That's true.
wanting to know what this crazy planet is all about, because, you know, these humans, they kill each other, they destroy their own planet while they're living on it, they do all of these crazy things. So what's going on with them?
Mhm.
So yeah, sure, there could be somebody here observing us and going, man, these people are crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, these myriad of observations is probably why we haven't had visits from individuals from other planets yet. Because
Announced visit.
announced visits, because they see what we're doing and they're saying, oh my goodness, if these humans are so terrible towards each other, why do we want to go into that situation and risk them being so terrible towards us? If they can't handle the differences they see in each other, why would we want to expose ourselves and risk having them be so terrible towards the differences they may see in us?
Right. I mean, if we are that way towards another human that's just a different skin color, what would we do if a Vulcan appeared, or an
That's
Andorian, or, you know?
We are not ready for first contact with different alien species. And back when I took my Star Trek courses through an online website, and I took 3 of them, I had to write these blogs, and I basically said the same thing in the blog assignments that I had to write. They were actually through some Smithsonian X Star Trek technology courses, like, yeah, through Smithsonian X. I took them during the worst parts of COVID, just because I didn't have anything better to do, so I found online courses. And I wrote, like, Earth is not ready for first contact with other species because we struggle with so much indifference among ourselves. And I think we would be very, very, very troublesome towards those of other alien species. We would treat them poorly because we have such a problem treating each other poorly. And that's what I wrote along those lines. I wrote huge blog posts about this.
I think there's a large percentage of people that would be more welcoming, but you're right. I mean, honest to God, we as human beings have not gotten to that point that Roddenberry was really dreaming of when he created Star Trek. That point where we see each other as just human. It doesn't matter if you're orange, purple, black, green, I don't care. But there's not enough of us that feel that way. Because, you know, right here where I am, and in the town that I grew up in, just down the road a little piece, we don't have so much racism or judgment, but it's a small town. We literally all grew up together. Like, we all know each other, and our grandmothers knew each other, and, you know, but when you step out of that and you get into like the heart of Oklahoma City, downtown, you get to certain areas, like, for instance, Tulsa is a big rodeo area. I grew up in a small rodeo area, but man, the black cowboys, and there are plenty of them, but they feel a lot of racism because people think the stereotypical cowboy is this rugged white guy with his boots and his jeans and his button-down shirt. And of course the hat, you know, but they see a black guy come to participate in the rodeo, and there's not all of them and not everywhere, but there are areas where there's definitely some, shouldn't you be in a bar rapping, or you know, shouldn't you be doing something else because of the color of your skin? So I think we have a long ways to go.
We do have
But
a long ways to go. We really do.
I do think that Roddenberry started something very special for us.
He started
And
it. It's not
he-
finished by any means. We're never
No,
going to be
no.
finished because people always have this antiquated idea that different is bad. Just because Star Trek says IDIC is cool doesn't mean they actually want to believe that IDIC actually applies to real life. It's a television show to them. It's a fictional universe. God forbid they actually put IDIC in real life and learn to love everybody as they are and however they want to live, right?
Hey, I was watching videos earlier today because my internet, there's something wrong with Paramount and I could not watch episode 10 until just a couple hours ago. So I was watching these other videos and the number of people that stood up against it's the show What Would You Do? I was watching that. And they do different scenarios to see what the people around will do when the actors are doing something. So there was a boy and a girl, teenagers, out to dinner, lunch, or whatever it was. But the girl was black, the boy was white, and there were people harassing them for that. And one of the older ladies went and gave the girl a hug and was like, don't pay attention to them. But there were so many people that stood up and said something. And I think that even just, even a few years ago, I'm not so sure there would be so many people standing up for her and saying something. And, I think we're moving in the right direction. I just don't think that we're there yet because the three of us can't be the only ones saying that. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Mhm.
but a place like this is to invite people to look at themselves and see how they can help affect change.
But I love that, and I wish there were more people that were participating so there were more different ideas because I like hearing that somebody, you have a different opinion than me. Okay, let's talk about it. You tell me why you are where you are. I'll tell you why I'm where I am. And you know what? One of us might change our minds, maybe even both of us.
That's true, but in order to actually have an opinion about something, I think somebody who understands what it's like to be marginalized. This is why I started this group. I understand what it's like to be marginalized. And so this is why I'd invited people to gather and discuss different things. I understand what it's like to be marginalized and treated badly for being different. So I invited people to come and bring their thoughts so we could affect change.
Well, I think I've told you this before. My cousin Stephanie is neurodivergent and she's got a lot of things going on with her.
Oh, I love it how you call it things. You can call it whatever you want. Just don't use the R word. I hate that word.
Oh, no. Well, no, I don't like that at all because I don't think anybody is that word.
You can call them quirkies or I don't know. Quirkies is a fun word.
Yeah, but I have just as many different, not the same issues that Stephanie has. I have different issues, but the thing is, she was a lot younger than I am. She's like 15 years younger than me. So we've never really been close only because of the age gap. But meeting you on here and talking to you made me really reach out to her in a way that I've never done before. And I think we've both benefited from that. And I love that because I was so wrapped up in me and my stuff that I didn't consider. You just get in a rut and you're doing your thing, and I am a boring person who does not mind doing the same thing every single day, or just hanging out in the hotel room, you know. I am a boring person. I understand
Well,
that.
I think that's a lie.
Um,
First of all, you're far from boring. You just have to get around the right people so that the interesting parts come
but,
out.
but really and truly, I think reaching out to her and right now is a very difficult time in her life. She's going through a divorce on top of everything else that she's going through.
Oh,
And her ex-mother-in-law is not making anything easy on her. But it's cool because I've been there, I've done that, and being able to reach out and kind of put my arm around her. I mean, the idea really came from you. So
thank you.
I have to give you credit for that. But it's been really great because she is feeling more confident. She is ready to fight what she needs to fight. And I see her having this confidence in this stuff because before, you know, she was just, you know, she was almost ready to just give up. And because I reached out, she's fighting and she is, you know, you know what, I can do this. And I am not crazy and I am not, you know, an unfit mother. I'm a good mother and I can do this. And I love it. I love it so much because I watched that change happen. And I kind of feel like part of it is because I did reach out to her and I did reach out to her mom, my Aunt Becky. And she's not into Star Trek. She does the pixies and elves and
Fantasy stuff.
fantasies. Yeah, she does fantasy stuff.
Well, that's not so bad. So do I.
Yeah, you know, it's her thing. Star Trek's my thing. So, you know.
That's
Even though I
good.
did tell her that I really thought that if she, you know, would come and do a Zoom meeting with us, that she would enjoy it, maybe get something out of it.
Well, you could
But
always show her the tapes of past episodes.
I sent her, which one? I sent her one.
We've done 34 of these, so there's plenty of to choose from.
I sent her one that I felt like would really speak to her, and I don't remember which one it was now. This chemo pill really messes with my memory so bad.
Oh,
Like,
that's okay.
and I read an article, I shared it on my Facebook page about people who are abused over a long period of time, having certain memory issues, certain mental blocks and stuff, and insomnia and all of these things. And I'm like, I've got all of that. Both of my husbands were mentally and emotionally abusive. And then one of my sons was physically abusive as well. So I'm away from all of that now, but I kind of feel like, you know, that was very long term. And the article really, man, I read myself in it. So that was like, but I really do have a very, it's bad. I mean, it's really bad. Like, I can't remember this morning very well, other than the fact that I know I sat on this bed all day because that's what I do all day. But except for when I was trying to get the Wi-Fi on my laptop.
Well,
But
you know what else it's a good time to remember?
what's that?
Time Zero Part 2. I think it's a good time to remember it by watching it.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's been a long time.
Yes,
All
we've had
right.
a lovely discussion, but I think we're going to move to the episode now.
Yeah. All right, hold on. Let me mute.
All
myself.
right, does everybody know how to get to it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, I'll see you in a little while. Any questions, pop in the chat.
Yes, ma'am.
We all done?
Man, I had forgotten so much of that episode.
Anthony, hold on. Anthony, you ready? Anthony.
Ugh. There we go. I love these.
Okay, I'm here.
There
Wasn't
he
that
is.
a fantastic episode? I literally sat there with tears in my eyes because I just felt, passionate about it. And I actually wrote a bunch of notes that I want to discuss in the chat along with whatever you guys want to discuss.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, well, technically, I got about like 5 more minutes of the episode, but I didn't get, remember, like I said before, in this country, there's Paramount Plus. I don't know about what
Yeah.
plan Teresa has.
I have Paramount Plus, the cheapest one they got.
Yeah, so I'm looking at right now, the one with the commercials.
Oh. Well.
You want to go finish the ending and then we can talk?
Talk amongst yourselves. Be right back.
We'll wait for you.
Yeah, we can wait.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay,
You
awesome.
unmute me.
Okay, awesome. As I was saying, this episode made me emotional. It made me appreciate Star Trek, and it also made me think of the 3 courses of Star Trek inspiring culture and technology I took from Smithsonian X on edX. Like during pandemic, I was looking for things to do, and I was like, oh, they have courses on Star Trek. This is cool. And the courses were about exploring the impact and influence of Star Trek on today's society and technology. And the course involved a lot of episode and film watching and note taking, a lot of blogging. And what from Time Zero Part 2 had an impact on today? Like Troi's comments to Samuel Clements about the Federation when they were walking through the ship comes to mind. And the only little problem I had with that, like, she was talking like ignorantly about how poverty was eliminated. Like, it wasn't really eliminated, not even on Earth. Like, maybe they just chose to ignore it, like the Federation and Starfleet, because maybe the poor just chose to stay out of the way, but the poor definitely still existed in the galaxy. Poverty still existed in the galaxy. I mean, I can't remember the exact timeline, but the occupation of Bajor was either ending or just ended, and there were a lot of suffering. There was a lot of suffering from that. There was a lot of suffering and recovery from the Borg attack. There was a lot of suffering everywhere. So poverty was definitely a thing. People just pretty much ignored it because it made for an uncomfortable situation, and people didn't like it.
Well, granted, she was referring to poverty on Earth, not elsewhere.
But maybe it existed. People just didn't like to acknowledge that it existed because it would mean that the Federation and Starfleet were imperfect.
Well, I mean, they had public replicators where people could go and get food. They had done away with money.
That's true. But here's the thing. Here's a good question for you. We look at the time of Picard. If poverty was really gone, then what was Raffi doing living in a trailer? What was Rios doing being an addict of smoking and alcohol? And what was Raffi doing being an alcoholic if poverty and suffering was eliminated? That's what post-traumatic stress disorder can do to anybody. It can turn anybody into dependent on substances.
I think she was specifically talking about Earth where, San Francisco, 24th century, they had this oasis around them.
Yes.
And they really focused on like Starfleet Academy. you see the buildings, the admin buildings for, Starfleet Academy, and all you see is this very idealistic, perfect garden that surrounded the area. All you see is this perfection.
It's true.
And I know we're not talking about Deep Space Nine, but Captain Sisko even said that in to Dr. Bashir after they had gone back for the Bell riots.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about the fact that it was a fake. I forget how he worded it, but basically that it was a fake Garden of Eden. It was not real. There were things, but all you saw was the perfection. You look out the window at Starfleet Academy and you see a perfectly manicured lawn with the flowers and the trees and birds and cadets walking around talking with their rectogenos, and you don't
That's true.
see. And if you don't see it, it's easy to deny it exists.
Well, even in Starfleet, there were people limited in terms of opportunities they can have based on who they were. Like Julian, he had to hide the fact that he was an augment because augments weren't allowed in Starfleet because they were perceived as dangerous, never mind their personalities. If you're an augment, you're screwed, you're dangerous. You weren't allowed to be in Starfleet just based on that fact. So he had to lie about it. Right?
Exactly.
Like Clements pretty much asked Troi, he said he came from a time where inequality, prejudice, and the ruthless pursuit of power and wealth are the norm for human behavior. Guess what? It was still the norm for human behavior. People just didn't acknowledge it existed because then that meant acknowledging that there were problems within Starfleet. And of course, Picard, as we see throughout the Next Generation, he's always shocked whenever he sees that problem because he doesn't like to acknowledge the imperfections in Starfleet either. But once he realizes there is a problem, he does whatever he can to expose it, even if it means getting himself thrown at the bottom of the promotion list. I know that sounds ruthless, but that's how it is.
And also there's the little besides, Heather.
Uh-huh.
It's this little thing about fleet life in real life. If you watch the first 2, 3 seasons of Next Generation, it's a little campy because what happened was like season 3 forward, Rick Berman, who was taking over from Gene, thought that this future looked too squeaky clean. There's no conflict, and this place is boring as heck.
What does campy mean?
They had to go look through Pandora's box, find little weird creatures, and like let some of them out to play, just for the sake of having more interesting stories. I don't know what these creatures look like, but just think like some weird little 5-year-old sketch with bat wings.
Well, I mean, we see, like in TNG, Rollaren and Riker. I mean, we do see some conflict come up.
Yeah.
So, and then we saw a lot more conflict when we get into Deep Space Nine. We see a lot more of that. But it's still very clean. It's still very, we've got this under control, and we don't have that kind of problems here. Until the Dominion War started, we don't have problems.
Yeah, take it up with Bluebeard.
They put on a mask of perfection.
Well, the mask of perfection pretty much cracked because all these people had all these different issues and they were forced to do their duty despite all these issues. And people that are forced to just set aside their personal issues and just acknowledge they don't exist, of course they have feelings, that they're unresolved and they eventually come out. Like, I like the fact that they had these interpersonal issues, these episodes that focused on these interpersonal issues. Like, and force us to understand that, hey, you know what, these are Starfleet officers, but they're also very human, and they have these human issues, and Starfleet officers aren't robots like we expect them to be. I mean, I think we expect perfection in Starfleet officers, but that's not normal. That's not realistic. Starfleet officers are human just like everybody else, and they may be Starfleet officers, but they are very much human beings first. And human beings have imperfections. And that's the process of discovery, right? Like, we have to understand that these people are not in Starfleet first. They're human first. They're humans coming to Starfleet and wanting to do better for the universe, but they have to come to terms with their own humanity or their own selves first before they can do what they need to do and be what they need to be in order to serve in Starfleet. Because you have to pass all these exams, and you have to pass psych exams, and you have to pass medical exams and intellectual exams. But if you can't come to terms with who you are first, you're not able to pass these exams and get into Starfleet. That's why people fail out the first time, right? Or am I too deep?
No, I think you're right on track. But I think it's not just Starfleet. I mean, I think we can say that across humanity. Because we even test ourselves without even thinking about it. And we look around us and we see what other people look like in our perception of what perfect is supposed to look like. And we build that mask, we make it, and we wear it because we think that that's what everybody else wants to see.
And that's true. You know what? How else we test ourselves? We test ourselves by stepping outside our comfort zone. And I told you this before. Comfort zones are not there to make us comfortable. Comfort zones are there to stop us from growing.
I love that. I shared that.
I'm glad.
But you know, I think just me, you know, my little opinion out of, you know,
Oh, your little
millions
opinion. Your opinion's more than just a little opinion.
Okay.
But me sitting here in this hotel room day after day, you know, except the days I go to dialysis, but I sit here and I listen to my neighbors and I listen to everything else, but I portray myself in such a way without even trying that the people who work here, they all know me. They talk to me by my name. Like, I don't know any of their names, but I just have the personality of, when I see another human being, I feel a need to acknowledge their presence. The whole, you know, mind your own business, walk past without looking, I don't know how to do that. I just physically can't do that.
You know what? You're like the sunshine. You see somebody needing light and love, and you just kind of shine down on them. You know that? You're like the sunshine.
Oh, you're gonna make me get all teary-eyed here.
Cry. Who says you can't?
But
I don't have any tissues in reach this time.
I have a box too. I just haven't even opened it yet. Well, you know, when I was 10 years old, and this is part of why I am the way I am. When I was 10 years old, there was a girl in our neighborhood that I did not really know that well. Her name was Daisy. She would occasionally come and play with us, you know, when we were playing volleyball and stuff out in the yard. So she would occasionally come, and she was being raised by grandparents who really didn't care where she went and what she did during the day. And she was scared of my dad. I don't know why. He never did anything to do that, but I think it was because of men in her life. I was too young and too self-absorbed at that age to really understand what was happening. She tried to commit suicide by laying down on the railroad track.
Mm,
And she was like, she did get like both legs broken, but she didn't, you know, that. But after that, it really made me think and notice other people. Notice an absence when somebody should be there. Notice that absence. Notice that somebody's hanging back in the shadows. Notice that somebody's clearly afraid to be themselves and come out. And that is a big part of why I am that way. Because I felt like if I had been able to notice that, maybe she wouldn't have done that.
mm,
And then just 2 years later, we lived directly across from a trailer park, and a lady's trailer burned to the ground. And there was nothing we can do. I mean, call 911, obviously, and the fire station is only a couple miles away, but those trailers go up so fast. And me and my sisters were crying because Daddy's water hose was not long enough to go all the way across our yard, the road, and get to her trailer. So we couldn't, there was nothing we could do to help. You know, made sure that everybody was out of, well, we were not allowed to go over there, but Daddy made sure that everybody got out of the trailer. But watching everything somebody owns just literally go up in ashes, it changes you. It makes you think differently. And so I think I've had a lot of those types of experiences. And I think that just makes me look. Because I think most people want to not look. They intentionally look the other way.
You
So
know, that's
I feel like, you know, me and my sisters and I didn't always get along. But at least at that point in our lives, we were very open to seeing things that other people want to turn a blind eye to. And it's easy. It's really easy to get wrapped up in yourself and not think about other people. I know with the dialysis and stuff, it's easy to think about me and my health issues and my problems and the things that my son and ex-husbands have done. But I think, like you said, we have to look, and you can't discover if you don't open your eyes to what's around you.
That's true. Do you know that hypocritical thing about society? They talk about, even as society talks about how the world would benefit from diversity and how wonderful diversity is and how we need to increase diversity and increase acceptance and increase love. Everyone has an equal amount of paranoia about things they don't easily understand. So they do their best to preach about how diversity is important, but yet they do this when they're faced with actually accepting it into their lives. And you know, that's where the conflict comes from. That's where the indifference comes from. That's where the violence comes from. People want to preach how they should bring diversity and how everyone should bring diversity in. But when they themselves are faced with inviting diversity in their lives, they don't want to do it. And then people who actually strive to do it are fighting against hypocrites who preach it but don't want to actually teach it by showing it and embracing it. You know, that's where the violence comes from, and it's the saddest thing in the world.
I spoke about my hometown earlier, and the city council and the Chamber of Commerce. Those are very diverse groups. And there's another town, stone's throw away, and they saw what our town was doing and wanted to replicate it, except they didn't let anybody into their meetings unless they were part of the group. Now, that's as hypocritical as you can get. At least in my mind, like, you want the kind of diversity that this town has, but this town has people from all walks of life, and your town is every single person that's on the chamber, that's in council. They're all older. Not, I wouldn't say well-to-do, but, you know, not struggling white people. Now, there are other people that live in that town, but, you know, they don't accept them in, so they're not ever going to become a diverse group because they don't accept diversity. You have to actually accept those people. You have to accept the people that don't think the same way you do. They get all mad. They go on Facebook, on these groups, and they talk about, I got a new neighbor that's gay and we need to do something about this. Or I got a new neighbor that's whatever difference that they have. We got people moving here from the Middle East. We can't let this happen. What can we do to stop this? That is not accepting diversity.
The thing you can do about it is make them a meal, say, welcome to the neighborhood. Is there anything I can do for you? Can I babysit your kids? Can I invite you to dinner so that you don't have to cook? Can I take you to the grocery store and around the neighborhood so you know where stuff is at, so you can actually get things that you need for your house?
In every neighborhood I have ever lived in, all summer long, I keep those, people call them different things, but the otter pops, you know what those are? It's a popsicle. It's in plastic, in like a plastic.
Those things.
What?
Yeah, people call them different things, but I always keep a box of them in my
freezer. Otter pop?
It's just a popsicle.
You don't eat otters, do you? That's like, I think people actually do that, but I don't know. Like, you're supposed to cook them first, right?
It's just a popsicle. It's just flavored.
Like, I mean, I'm sure people in Canada eat them, but I think you're supposed to skin them and cook them first.
Oh no.
You're thinking something else, Heather.
Yeah, that's something way different from this. This is just a popsicle, but I keep
ice cream, Heather, ice cream.
Oh,
no burnt flesh of any kind.
No, these are made out of Kool-Aid.
Oh, are they lactose friendly or lactose free?
Yes, yeah, totally. It's flavored sweet water. And it's frozen. No animals were harmed in the making of these popsicles.
Well, I didn't know what you were talking about. I'm sorry.
It's okay, because people call them different things in different areas. But I always kept them because there were always kids that were just go outside, stay outside all day, leave me alone, you know. And I didn't want anybody getting dehydrated. So I was the popsicle lady in every neighborhood I have ever lived in, because the kids knew if they knocked on my door, they could come in, sit in the air conditioning, or they could have a popsicle and go back, whatever. But I always had the popsicles. And when new people came into the neighborhood, I always made it a priority to meet them. And, you know, some of them seemed like, you're crazy, lady, but most, but I always did that because I wanted to treat those kids like I would want mine to be treated if I wasn't there.
Oh, that's good of you.
So, well, the thing is, it should be the norm. It shouldn't be a thing to be praised about. It should be the norm. I've got juice boxes in the little mini fridge here in the hotel because, you know, there's a little 2-year-old that the parents make the kids stay outside when they're, I don't know what they're doing, but I feel like it's a non-invasive, friendly, safe way to say, hey, can I offer your kid a cold juice? You know, so, but again, I feel like that shouldn't be something that needs to be praised. That should be the norm. We should be looking out for each other. I got pretty upset at one of the last council meetings that I was able to go to. And there's a bunch of them that were going to another town and watching all that town's high school and middle school football games. I said, but our town has a football team. What about our kids? We should be thinking about our kids. And I get pretty upset about it because I'm like, if you can go a few miles more down the road and support the Carl Albert students, why can't you support the Star Spencer? Because those are our kids. And if we as a community can't reach out to our kids and give them the encouragement that they need, why are we doing that for somebody else? I mean, I don't oppose doing it for them, but what about our kids? They should be first. There are 4,000 people, registered voter people. So there's probably more than that. But those are the 4,000 registered voters. And we can't fill up the stadium for our high schoolers. I was pretty mad. I was mad. My face was red. I had tears going down my face.
You know what? You remind me of Picard. Whenever he's brought to an awareness of a situation, whenever he's made aware of a situation, like people in need of comfort, people in need of help, he does his best to resolve the situation peacefully and get people what they need, or at least help people come to some sort of peaceful agreement. It's seen in multiple episodes.
Well, yeah,
he even risked in this episode, he even risked being lost in time to help Guinan when she was laying there unconscious and hurt. He literally was like, oh, screw going back in time. I'm literally going to kneel now next to this injured person because I know it's important.
His friend, yeah.
And he literally sat there and took care of her. And when she woke, you stayed. You're far too important to me. I had to see that you are all right. He chose to see to Guinan's welfare. His caring character speaks volumes. And of course, he lost a little bit of that in Picard due to the attack on Romulus, the attack on Mars. He lost a little bit of that, but you could see that he regained that during the first season of Picard. And he learned his lesson and he's gotten better at it, but it speaks volume to the type of person that Jean-Luc Picard is. He cares about people and he doesn't have a lot of people skills, but he knows how to care.
But I think, you don't have to be a people person. You don't have to be a diplomat. It doesn't take much. Just treat everyone like a human. Treat everyone like they're a human being. Because the people who don't do that see themselves as better than the people that they're talking down about or whatever. But no one is better than anyone else.
Right, we're all
And
humans.
As long as you can look at the person holding up a sign asking for anything, saying anything helps, the person who is a recovering addict, the person who is she's got 3 babies by 3 different men. If you can look at that person and see their humanity and not just the, well, I never,
Yeah.
you can't do that. And I think it happens, and it happens a lot. I mean, it happens in my family. So if it happens in my family, I know it's happening in other families.
Oh, it happens everywhere. Nobody's immune.
And the truth is, we have to see them as a human first. And I think you said that once before. You have to see the humanity first.
Star
And
Trek
not
teaches that we
see-
must not forget to care. It may be hard for us to care, but we must not
Yes.
forget to care.
Your essay, yes.
I've written many essays, but
The last one that you posted with that title. But yeah, I mean, we have to see the humanity first, and sometimes that's hard when they look so different from you. But
yes, or
grew
act
up-
so different or operate so different, because you know what? We're all human beings in need of everything, and love and compassion are basic human needs. They're included in the basic
are.
human needs
They
that we are in desperate need of. Like, we all have basic needs. We have a right to have our basic needs met as much as we want them to be met. And if we can't help each other have those basic needs met, what is wrong with us? Like, we've got to have the saying, "You're far too important to me to be ignored." We've got to say that to each other.
Exactly. But we have to, again, we have to see them first as a human, because it's too easy to see their shortcomings before their humanity. I grew up
Yeah.
in a bubble. I won't lie. I grew up in a bubble. I grew up with my daddy worked so hard to make sure that mama was able to stay at home and homeschool us kids, to teach us a real education, how to grow our own food, how to can and freeze, and how to make jelly. I mean, I learned that early young, but how to do things that you really need to know. They don't teach you how to balance a checkbook in high school. They
Well,
should.
no, they do, because the education system is so advanced. Now they kind of do.
Nope, they don't teach them how to use
Really?
checkbooks. That's considered obsolete.
In business services, I learned how to make cement things, stepping stones, build plastic wooden trees, run concessions,
don't
work
do
in
that
video
anymore.
stores. Yes, I got a
They-
lot of credits in high school.
They don't do that anymore.
Maybe
Not
your
even-
neck of the woods, Heather, but around here, I may cut you off, Teresa, but I think I know where you're coming from. Is they don't teach any of that stuff in school in this country.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
wow.
They don't.
America's
They
dog
used
food,
to.
no offense, it's dog food.
They used to. They really used to. But now, even the schools, they focus on the differences. They take students that have autism, for example, and they are put in a different track. They're not put in the classroom with their peers, and they're not taught the same as their peers. They're autistic. That doesn't mean they're stupid.
Do you think that's new? Do you think that's new? That was that way for me back when I was in high school. I was in an IOP classroom and I was too intelligent for that. So I was in a mixed track.
Some school districts do have some inclusion, and there's a lot more awareness of it now. But that doesn't mean it's changing in the schools, because I can tell you, because I've got a lot of teachers. My sister-in-law is one of them in the family, and in our friends circle, it's sad, because their differences, they're labeled, and then you know what kids do when they find out another kid is labeled as something, it becomes hell at school for them. They don't focus on the humanity of the child. That is one reason that we have so many middle school and high schoolers killing themselves. I mean, look up the suicide rates for teenagers in America.
Because
It's
people don't say to each other, you're far too important to me.
exactly. They have no one. A lot of them don't have even a parent that does that, even if they're lucky enough to have both parents actually living there with them. They're too focused on their jobs, they're too focused on other things. Their kid is left behind. They're left behind in the dust. And even though we have the No Child Left Behind, big old programs and stuff we pour millions of dollars into, the reality of it is we need somebody to come along this kid and say, you're important to me. You matter. They
We
need
need
that.
people like Aaron Gruwell and the Freedom Riders. Look those up. Look that up, by the way. It's a good book. It's a good movie. Yes, it's about a teacher who saw so much potential in her students that she insisted on teaching them all the way through high school, took them through beautiful things, beautiful opportunities, and followed them through college.
And we do need more of that.
We need more people to say to each other, you're far too important to me. And I feel like you guys are getting tired, so I'll leave you with this. Don't be afraid to engage in the process of discovery, even if it means taking yourselves outside of your established comfort zones, because comfort zones aren't there to help you be comfortable. They're there to stop you from growing, and stopping yourself from growing is about the worst thing you can do for yourself, because you are denying yourselves opportunities that might be opportunities of a lifetime.
Agreed.
And it might make the difference between life and death, literally, for someone.
And yes, and it might mean the difference between life and death for yourself, because you shouldn't stop opportunities for yourself just because you're scared, because life isn't about giving into fear. Life is about conquering fear and giving into faith. And those are my pearls of wisdom for this meeting. And I'll let you go because I'll let you go because it is quite late Eastern time, and I want people to be able to get some rest.
Sounds
And
good.
does anybody have any concludings?
You, Teresa?
I think Heather summed it up pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
we just need to open our eyes and take the blinders off.
Jump into the process of discovery with both feet. Don't give in to fear. Embrace faith. Don't hold on to comfort zones, and engage in the process of discovery and embrace what happens, because it will take you to beautiful things.
It does.
And then don't be afraid to enjoy life, because life's much too short to avoid enjoyment.
You're right.
I love you all.
All right.
Thank you all for coming to this meeting. Live long and prosper.